Hi, it is Sunday and it's time for my mental health vlog. Um, really good week this week. I had therapy this week, and I love therapy because I love working through things and figuring out things with my therapist. Like, I'll just be talking with her about some random thing, and then I'll be like, oh, that probably relates back to this or this or this or this. And then I get to explore something and work through something new, and learn something new about myself. One of the topics we talked about this week was, I talked about when I was on the cruise with my boyfriend, and I couldn't apologize enough for the fact that I had gotten sunburnt and felt like I ruined a day. I wanted to explore that a little bit with my therapist and try and be like, my boyfriend made no indication that I had done anything wrong or was held accountable for, the sunburn or whatever. So why I always feel this incessant need to say I'm sorry or apologize for things, especially when there are things that are out of my control. And I do it a lot, and I find myself doing it more and more with my boyfriend. And my therapist was like, okay, so has your boyfriend ever said or done anything to give you any indication that you need to apologize, or you've done something wrong, or that he's angry at you, or whatever? And I was like, no, not really. In fact, he's probably the most understanding person, one of the most understanding people I've ever met. Um, so we kind of boiled it down to the facts. Like, then why do you feel like you need to apologize? And I thought about it for a minute, and I said, I guess it kind of stems back to something that we had talked about previously, where I grew up in a house where if something went wrong, whether it was my fault or not, I was often blamed for it. And I had developed a guilty conscience, almost like a permanent guilty conscience, where I always feel like anything and everything, whether I can control it or not, is my fault, and I need to apologize. And when I went into my marriage, it was a lot of that same mentality, where if something went wrong, it was my fault, or even if it wasn't my fault, it was my fault. And I'm not sure I ever fully understood that, because it was what I grew up with, therefore it was normalized for me. And now, being in a new relationship, I still feel like I'm being judged. I'm being, put under a microscope, that if I do something wrong, or if I don't do something wrong, I'm still accountable, or I need to apologize for it. So it was very interesting to kind of go down that path with my therapist, to realize that if I haven't done anything truly wrong, and I have to figure that out in my head, which is a challenge for me, then I should stop apologizing, and I should actually wait and see if my boyfriend is ever angry with me, or ever says I've done something wrong, or because we have that type of communication. And that's why I understand that me apologizing incessantly it's a me thing. It's not a him thing. I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm just always apologizing. So this will take work. But I have to realize that I'm not, I don't, it's a validation thing for me, is what it boils down to. And my addiction is validation based. So this is kind of another way that it's manifested, is like permanent accountability and permanent guilty conscience. So obviously this is something that was, embedded in my head in childhood, and I just associated with a normal behavior, which has not worked out well for me. So happy to finally address it and boil it down, and figure out a little bit more about it. I love my therapist. If you are not doing therapy, you are doing yourself a disservice. You don't have to be crazy, because crazy is relative to her. Honestly, we're all crazy. But you don't have to be broken, or think you're broken, or whatever, to benefit from therapy. And you all know that mental health is something it's one of the soapboxes I stand on. So I will again encourage you to seek a therapist, because you don't know what you don't know is wrong with you. Wrong with you is a wrong word. You don't know what parts of you could stem from trauma that you are completely unaware of and that you have normalized in your brain, which could be toxic. So I will say it again for the millionth time. Mental health is just as important as physical health, dental health, vision health. It's all health. Health is important. Okay, so let's talk about work for just a second. So we got a new Scrum Master to help us try and look and see on the project list, like 90% of my job, to look and see like what areas we could work on and fix and do better. And I did get that validation last week from him, where he told me that the problem seems to all be stemming from the business, not from me. And we finally started breaking things down into, if you're familiar with project management, into sprints, which is not something we've ever done before. And looking at how many things we can get into each release, so we can do things faster, better, cleaner, and have a much clearer idea of when things are going to happen and when things are going to be released. And I started looking at some numbers, and I'm like, holy shit, is that what we've accomplished for just this one release that we still have like a week and a half on? And I'm like, I finally realized, I'm like, wow, I can see numbers now, and I can see that the changes that I started implementing a few months ago are really, really paying off. And even the new Scrum Master's like, whatever y'all are doing here, you're doing it well and you're doing it right. So you should continue to keep doing that, plus these other things that we're going to work on. So that was incredibly rewarding to me, especially because I consistently feel paranoid, not being good enough, because that always hangs out back here in my head, and it's not going away, and I'd love it to, but it's not. So when I get that kind of validation, God damn it, I'm doing it again. I'm looking for validation. But when I do get that kind of validation, it kind of reinforces the fact that I do feel like I'm good at what I do. And I hate that, because I just realized it as I said it, that I'm still seeking validation. You know, and I always might. And I think everyone to a point seeks validation of some form. I just need to make sure that if I am seeking validation, that it's not a toxic trait for me. Because as I've discovered, it's really easy for me to switch one addiction for another. We also talked about my casino spending in therapy this week. And my therapist was like, casinos are designed to give you that dopamine rush and to keep feeling like you're just about to hit. And that's exactly what it does for me. So I have decided that on the next cruise my boyfriend and I go to, he will be in charge of my debit card. So that if we do decide to take money out of savings, it is a mutually discussed decision, not just a, hey, I'm doing this. So I'm still working on step 4. I'm waiting on some stuff from my sponsor for my program. But I have started thinking ahead to step 9. I've been thinking a lot about it lately, and that is where you start to build the list of people that your addiction has impacted negatively. So I've started to build my list. I'm running across people from my past. I'm like, I need to put them on my list. So I'm starting to think ahead, and that's not comfortable or fun, to think about the conversations that you have to have in order to, you don't, there are certain circumstances where you don't reach out to people or you don't make amends, because you never want to cause harm to anyone or put anyone in danger or whatever by giving them more information that they may not know, or by reaching out to them. But I'm definitely coming up, I'm definitely digging some ghosts out of my past and dusting off some of the skeletons in my closet, which most people who are in this program with me know who they are. But I'm already not looking forward to the work I'm going to have to do for step 9. But I'm glad that I'm already thinking ahead. I did ask my sponsor, I'm like, what do I do about my son? I said, my son's on my list, but I'm not ready to divulge to him the addiction that I have, and the problems, the specifics of the problems that led to the disruption of his life. So that is something I have to think about and discuss, because that is part of my step 9. I just have to find a way to do it that won't cause any additional trauma for him. So I've got to make sure that it's something that I can communicate at his level, that he understands. I may not give him all the details, that he may not be ready for that yet. Speaking of being ready for that, he was showing me a bug bite on his leg, and oh my God, he's got so much hair coming in on his leg. How does my baby have hair on his leg? Like, I'm not ready for that. This weekend, I'm like, we need to get you some better shampoo and conditioner and body wash, because you're using stuff that still has Paw Patrol on it, and I'm pretty sure we've outgrown that, especially because his hair is long. So it's like, we're getting you some good stuff. I have been sleeping better. I realized one of the issues that I had was the headgear to my CPAP machine was old, and it was really stretchy, and it wasn't keeping a good tight seal on my mask. So I replaced that, and lo and behold, as soon as I replaced that, like when I got up in the morning, I felt much more awake. And it's been easier for me to get out of bed a little bit every morning. So that has obviously been an impact. I still think that testosterone is an issue, and I'm still fighting with my doctor and insurance on that, because don't even get me started. My boyfriend and I went to go see a musical on Wednesday. We actually hated it because it wasn't a musical. It was more of a jazz concert set in a cotton club with pretty lights and costumes, but there was no story, there was no plot, there was no dialogue, there was, the actors were talented, I give them that, but I just wasn't buying what they were selling, so we ended up leaving before intermission. I hated doing that, because to me it's a waste of money, but I will give my boyfriend kudos. He got us great seats this season, and we didn't pay, we paid, a decent, we got a good deal on him. I'll just put it that way. My boyfriend did a great job, so kudos to him. I actually, he and I were talking the other night, and I'm like, I feel like we don't do anything at nights. I feel like we kind of waste our time together in the evenings. We just kind of sit and watch TV together. So I wanted to start doing things around the house together. So one night, instead of watching TV, we played cards and had wine, and that was actually really, really nice, and it was fun. So I'd like to keep trying to keep it a little more interesting than just sitting and watching TV. I woke up this morning with after a really, really weird dream. And I have known myself long enough to know that if I remember a lot of details in a dream, there's a reason. And I need to look into it, and I need to figure it out, and I need to not just, crazy dream, and move on. In this dream, I was in the house that I grew up in, and there was no furniture. But we were getting ready for a double wedding. One was my sister's, who's already married, so I don't know. I honestly have no idea who she was marrying in this dream. That was irrelevant. I never saw a groom. It was just my sister. And the other was my ex, and he was marrying his boyfriend. And the funny thing was, I never saw my ex's face, but I knew that it was his wedding, and I did see his boyfriend's face because I had a conversation with him. And it was actually a conversation with him where I profusely apologized for bringing him into a situation that was already doomed, disrupting his life, and it wasn't fair for him the way I took my aggressions out on him. And it wasn't, and I thanked him for all the stuff that he does for my son. The riddles that he writes him, the math problems that he writes him, getting him into music and things like that. And as much as there's parts of me that I want to say I don't like him, I feel like any animosity that is between the two of us, it's something that I created. And by things that I've said or things that I've done. So I did. I had it was a very emotional apology from me. And I actually woke up this morning and I asked my ex, I'm like, I know that I'm blocked everywhere from your boyfriend, as he is with me. I said, but do you think he would be amenable to receiving a letter from me? I haven't decided if I'm going to write it yet. I feel like I'm going to. If I don't do it now, it will definitely be part of my step 9. And I think that maybe what triggered the dream is the reason that I've been thinking about the step 9. But I think I need to apologize. It's funny how I just started this video and now I'm talking about apologies, but I feel like I need to make amends for the disruptions to and the changes in his life that were impacted by my behaviors, spurred on by my addictions. So that's been weighing on my head today. Aside from that, today has been awesome because we pulled down all the Halloween decorations yesterday, looked to see what we had, which honestly, because I'm rebuilding everything from scratch, there wasn't tons, but we went outside and we thought about some really creative things we could do with, chicken wire and tomato cages and tarps and whatnot, and we came up with some great ideas. And then we made a list. We went to Home Depot, tried to keep it at a smaller budget, but it's really hard to do at Home Depot. But what we're going to make out of what we came up with, I'm pretty excited about it. And I love the fact, I looked at my boyfriend today, I just kind of stared at him for a minute. We were getting ready to go to Home Depot. He's like, what? And I'm like, I'm still getting used to having someone that gets excited and involved in things like decorating for holidays, because for years that always just kind of fell on my shoulders to do. And he is putting in just as much work and energy and effort and creativity and execution into all of this as I am. And that's going to take me a while to get used to, but God, I really enjoy it, especially with Halloween, because I love Halloween. Anyone that knows me knows that. And I'm very, very excited about that. I have gone way over my time that I usually give for myself for these videos, but thank you very much for sticking with me. The Facebook meme that I saw this week that was inspirational, because I'm going to share those once a week now. And this really ties into not only what I talked about at work, but also my addiction being validation driven. Your value doesn't decrease based on someone's inability to see your worth. And that really hit me because, again, that was such a large part of my addiction. Was I was only as good or worth whatever I was worth to someone else, whatever I could do for someone else, whatever I could give to someone else. And I know that's not true. I'm worth so much more, and I don't need anyone else to validate that for me. So check in your friends, make sure they're doing okay. Check in your family and your loved ones, make sure they're doing okay. Happy Daughter's Day to my sister. She's all right. She knows I love her. I'm her shithead. And check on yourself. Again, you never know what parts of your personality and who you are founded or based or rooted in toxic traits that you never know were still holding you back. I love you guys. I'll see you next week. Bye.